We can now bring in our Environmental Affairs Editor, Valérie Dekimpe. Good to see you, Valérie.
Hi.
Now, the environment
Yeah.
was really absent from the campaign, wasn't it? We always tend to switch to the right when it comes to presidential elections here in France, but it is a concern for many people.
Absolutely. And it was completely overshadowed in this campaign. And we have some data to back that up. According to a recent survey looking at the week before the first round of the election, just 4% of all airtime was devoted to the environment. As you know, the war in Ukraine, the cost of living were the central themes of the political debate. And in his election speech last night, Yannick Jadot even talking about a stolen campaign, because we know that more than 2/3 of French voters say that the environment is important to them, is an important issue. Now, some say that Jadot and the party are partly to blame. Some supporters yesterday at Yannick Jadot's headquarters telling me that they take responsibility, that they did not succeed and put in front and center the environment at the heart of this campaign. And certainly in the eyes of many French voters, they just don't see Yannick Jadot as someone who has the stature to become president, to be president. Just recently, one political scientist wondering, can we imagine environmentalists talking to Vladimir Putin? And I think that summarizes pretty well how the French felt about Yannick Jadot. Another interesting poll, when asked if they thought Yannick Jadot had what it takes to handle a war, a pandemic, a financial crisis, just 15% of respondents said yes. And the last thing I would say, though, is that even though we have the impression that the environment was absent from the campaign, it was not completely absent from the ballot box. And because the Green vote, if you will, was present in last night's election, but it was hidden perhaps in Jean-Luc's Mélenchon score at the end of the day, because he had a very credible, ambitious environmental plan. And there's no doubt that many Jadot supporters in the end defected and ended up casting their ballots in favor of Jean-Luc Mélenchon.
So, in the next 2 weeks, will the environment come back? Will we start talking about it? Will the candidates start talking about it once again?
Well, it is unlikely. I mean, we know that
the
national security, the cost of living will be top of the agenda once again.
But he does need to, if Emmanuel Macron wants to win, he does need to lure voters from the far left who voted for Jean-Luc Mélenchon.
He does, and that's going to be his strategy. He needs to, go after that Green vote. Whether he will succeed in that attempt remains to be seen. My take would be that those efforts will be unsuccessful. But if we look perhaps at both Emmanuel Macron's and Marine Le Pen's climate and environment strategies, they both agree on one thing, and that is nuclear power. They both want to boost nuclear power plants. But other than that, their climate and energy plans are quite far apart. Macron, he has come under fierce fire from environmental groups, describing his 5 years in office as just too much talk, not enough action. And we know Macron to give very kind of big international speeches on climate change and so on, but on the ground that does not translate into concrete action. So if we look at Emmanuel Macron's climate strategy, so he is in favor of more nuclear power plants, adding 6 new reactors. He is also, of course, in favor of more renewables, increasing the share of solar energy tenfold, installing more than 50 offshore wind parks. He also wants to help renovate more than 700,000 homes to make them more energy efficient. So he does have a climate strategy, a climate plan, not very detailed, but we can accuse him of not having that strategy. Marine Le Pen, on the other hand, she wants to get rid of all existing wind turbines. She wants to freeze all new renewable projects. She also wants to cut taxes on all energy sources, including fossil fuels. Her strategy does not include any measures to take petrol cars off the streets or boost the railway industry to limit our dependence on air travel. So quite clearly, the environment is not at the heart of her campaign. We also now know that it puts the country at odds with the Paris Agreement goals.
We'll see what happens from her, because she too needs to lure voters from the far left.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
We'll see what happens. Thank you very much for that, Valérie Dekimpe.